What's going on, everybody? This is Modern Day Poet, and welcome back to another Top 10 Countdown. Today is something different. I'm counting down my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Now, just like my previous list, I gotta make one thing clear. This isn't a list of the greatest movies ever made. I'm not ranking these based on awards, critic scores, box office numbers, cultural impact, anything like that. This is simply my personal top 10. These are movies I can throw on at any time, whether I've seen them 5 times, 50 times, 100 times. I still enjoy watching them. They stick with me, and I always find myself recommending them to people as well. So if your favorite movie ain't on here, don't worry about it. That's the great thing about movies. Everyone connects with different stories. And with that, let's get into it.
It's wrong! It's wrong because it's like against society!
Kicking off the list is A Clockwork Orange. This is definitely one of the most unique films I've ever watched. It's disturbing, it's thought-provoking, and unlike anything else I've ever seen. Every time I watch it, I notice something new. Whether it's a visual style, the undertone in some scenes, some dialogue intricacies, or social commentary hidden beneath the surface. It's not always an easy watch, but it's one of those movies that stays in your mind long after it's finished. It's bold filmmaking, and that's the reason it earns a place on my list.
Look it out. King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Coming in at number 9 is Training Day. This movie is carried by one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. Denzel Washington completely owns every scene he's in, creating a character that is charismatic, unpredictable, and genuinely intimidating. The story unfolds over a single day and is packed with tension from beginning to end. The overall story is great. The twists and turns throughout the whole thing leave you wondering, how is it going to end until the very last moment? Every conversation in the movie feels like it could explode at any time as well. Every event makes you question the integrity of the characters, and the story is gripping from beginning to end. It's an awesome movie with a great cast, and it is worth a watch every time. At number 8 is The Thing. This is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. It didn't do well for its time, but it's built up a cult following over the years. The practical effects are still incredible decades later, and honestly, I think it looks better than some of the modern CGI out these days. But what really makes this movie work is the paranoia. You never know who can be trusted. You don't know what's around every corner, and that constant feeling of uncertainty, doubt, claustrophobia. There's no way out, and that creates an atmosphere that is almost impossible to match. It is a masterclass of suspense and worth your time.
I know exactly where your body is. What I'm looking for is some indication of a brain.
Coming in at number 7 is Scent of a Woman. This film is very different to most of the others on my list, but I love this movie. Al Pacino delivers an unforgettable performance that's funny, emotional, and powerful. The relationship between the two characters feels natural, like it's done without force, and by the end, you're completely invested in both of them and want to see what happens. It's one of those films that reminds me that great story doesn't come so often. Sometimes great characters are enough to carry.
What is it?
Steven. They're coming up.
Number 6 goes to the original Dawn of the Dead. I've always loved zombie movies, and for me, this is one of the best ever made. Yes, some of the effects are dated by today's standards, but the atmosphere, the pacing, the social commentary, and even more things that you find throughout the film more than make up for it. It's one of those movies that you find something new every time that you watch it. It helped define the modern zombie genre, and it's amazing how well it still holds up after all these years. It's one of those movies that I never get tired of revisiting.
Now there ain't but 20,000 police in the whole town. Can you dig it?
Halfway through the list is The Warriors. This movie had such a unique style and atmosphere. The idea of gangs controlling different parts of New York and about to rise up feels almost like a comic book brought to life. Every gang has its own identity, the soundtrack's fantastic, and the journey across the city for the Warriors to get home to Coney Island keeps the tension high from beginning to end. There's a ton of memorable quotes in this movie as well, and a lot of scenes here that you can still hear influencing New Age cinema to this day. Even after all these years, it's still one of the coolest movies ever made. One of the most memorable lines is something I say a lot. Can you dig it? At number 4 is Alien. This movie completely redefined science fiction horror. It doesn't rely on constant action. Instead, it slowly builds that suspense until every shadow and every strange noise becomes terrifying. Is it going to come out of this corner? I can hear it moving around. The design of the alien itself is iconic, and the claustrophobic setting aboard the spaceship only adds to the tension. The characters feel real. The suspense once everything starts to happen is intense, and the influence of this movie in cinema to this day lingers. It is one of the greatest examples of a slow burn horror ever put on film. Just missing out on the top 10, here are some honorable mentions. Star Wars: A New Hope, 28 Days Later, Terminator 2, Lord of the Rings, all of them, The Blues Brothers, Dog Soldiers, Akira, No Country for Old Men, Metropolis, Late Night with the Devil, Pulp Fiction, American History X, Predator, and American Beauty. Now let's get into the top 3.
Go now, baby. Go. Countdown. Go now.
Taking the bronze medal is Leon the Professional. This movie is an incredible mix of action, emotion, and character development. The relationship between Leon and Matilda is what makes the film so memorable. It's an unusual friendship that develops in a really touching way throughout the whole story. Speaking of story, I don't think you can make a movie like this today either. Jean Reno is fantastic, Natalie Portman gives an incredible performance at such a young age, and Gary Oldman is one of the most entertaining villains in this film too. Every time I revisit it, it reminds me of why it became such a classic.
Zé Pequeno sempre quis ser o dono da Cidade de Deus, desde os tempos de moleque, quando ele ainda se chamava.
At number 2 is City of God. This is one of the most powerful movies I've ever watched in my whole lifetime. The storytelling is some of the best. The pacing never slows down or speeds up, it's just right, and it somehow manages to feel both entertaining and completely heartbreaking at the same time. The performance feels so authentic, and that almost makes it feel like you're watching real life. It's one of those rare movies that leaves a lasting impression long after you've watched it, and that's speaking from experience. Every time I recommend it to someone, they come back and say how great this movie was.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And finally, my number 1 movie of all time, Aliens. For me, this is the perfect sequel. I've been watching this since I was 4, so there is a bit of nostalgia to this, but you know what? At that age, kids were running around singing Bananas in Pajamas theme song. I was saying, game over, man, game over. It takes everything that made Alien great and expands it. The original focused more on being a horror in space and a haunted house sort of thing, but this one is just action. The action itself is incredible. The tension never lets up, and the characters are some of the most memorable in science fiction. Ripley becomes an even stronger character. The Colonial Marines have their own personalities, and the final act is still one of the greatest endings I've ever seen in a movie. I find myself replaying the scenes where they enter the hive and the fight in operations alongside Ripley entering the throne room and the final fight over and over. Always enjoying it every time since I was a munchkin. I've watched this film more times than I can count, and every single time it's just as great as the last. For me, no movie has more replay value than Aliens, and that's why it takes my number 1 spot. So that's my favourite top 10 movies of all time. Like all of my countdowns, this is purely based on personal enjoyment. These are the films that I've connected with the most over the years and the ones that I never get tired of watching. Now I'd love to hear your list though. What's your favourite movie? What's your top 10 movies? Leave it all down in the comments. And if you're new, put a like, put a subscribe, and all that jazz. Thanks for watching, and peace.